They taught us that being alone means being unwanted, that if a woman isn't chosen by a certain age, something must be wrong with her. What they never taught us is how powerful a woman becomes when she stops running away from herself. This is Rise+rebel, a podcast for people who refuse to abandon themselves to fit this world. Here, we talk about solitude, authentic truth, power, money, creativity, and the quiet action that changes everything. This season is about reclaiming what was never meant to be outsourced. Your voice, your intuition, your timing, your authority. I'm Hoja, commercial real estate advisor and the founder of Rise+rebel, and your host. If you're navigating the journey of life, especially when it feels lonely, uncomfortable, or misunderstood, well then, you're in the right place. Let's begin. Welcome to Rise and Rebel Radio. I grew up in a culture where a woman's worth had a timeline. In Turkmen culture, it was normal for girls to be married at 16, 17, 18. That was success. That was safety. That was virtue. And if a woman was still single in her 30s, 40s, 50s, the unspoken conclusion was simple. Something must be wrong with her. She must not have been wanted, chosen, needed by a man. And this is not just the Turkmen culture. Many women across the world were raised inside some version of this structure. And media reinforces it, religion echoes it, family systems enforce it. Marry young, stay desirable, don't age too loudly, don't be alone too long. I remember being at a friend's wedding about 15 years ago. It was an Arabic wedding. Women and men separated into different rooms. Little boys were allowed to wander freely between both. Little girls were not. And I was dancing with a group of little boys, playful, innocent, sweet. And one of them looked at me and said something snarky about my age, about how I should be ashamed that I wasn't married. He was a child. And those words came out of his mouth like they had been practiced. And that moment stayed with me. Because that's when I saw how deep conditioning really goes. It's not taught, it's absorbed. That was also the moment I realized how much shame lives inside these narratives. How heavy they feel in the body, the anxiety, the internal clock, the subtle fear of ending up alone, the dread of not being chosen, the feeling that time is working against you. That weight is not personal, it's cultural. And it shapes how we experience loneliness. Loneliness feels heavier now than it ever has, and yet we've never been more connected. We live inside screens. We work from home. We socialize digitally. We watch each other's lives in curated fragments. Social media creates a strange psychological environment. We're constantly watching, comparing, consuming, seeing pieces of other people's joy and measuring them against our private realities. And the nervous system doesn't know what to do with that, because what it often translates is, they're living and I'm behind. Remote work and digital life amplify this. We are social beings. We do learn who we are by being around others, by sensing, responding, navigating energy. Algorithms don't replace that. And worse, algorithms don't show us the same world. They curate separate realities. So we're not only physically alone more often, we're perceptually alone. And there's a crucial difference most people were never taught. Being alone is a choice. Feeling abandoned is a wound. Being alone can be grounded, nourishing, and spacious. Feeling abandoned lives in the nervous system. It's memory, attachment, trauma. But our culture collapses the two. And somewhere along the way, loneliness got translated into unworthiness, into failure, into proof that something is wrong. And that interpretation is what hurts. Loneliness is not the problem. Our interpretation of it is. Because at the end of the day, almost everything you do in this life, you do alone. And you're probably alone right now listening to this. And yet the moment we are not being mirrored, validated, witnessed, or desired, the ego panics. For me, I love being invisible. I love being in my cave. I love being in my presence. I love being alone, creating, writing, reading, learning, playing. I remember reading in a book called A Course in Miracles that we are never actually alone, that there is always presence with us. And whether you believe that spiritually or psychologically, that idea carried me, especially in Asia. When I was by myself, moving through one of the hardest internal seasons of my life, when I wished somebody was there to hold space for me, and when nobody was there, that thought grounded me. Something was there, and silence let me feel it. Ego panics in silence because silence removes the mask. It's where we hear ourselves. It's where the performances fall away. It's where identities loosen. In solitude, there is no one to impress, no one to manage, no one to mirror. And that's why so many people fear being alone. Because many relationships are not companionship. They are avoidance strategies. Constant companionship can become emotional anesthesia, a way to never have to meet the self. You're constantly running away from you. But peace often enters when the noise leaves, when you truly actually sit with yourself. I began genuinely enjoying being alone after my divorce. And what surprised me the most was how much I loved my own energy. I didn't realize how much of myself I had been buffering until I was finally with myself again. Solitude showed me how resilient I am, how much I can hold, how deeply I can self-soothe, how capable I am of moving through life from my own center. I found my heart in solitude. And something else strengthened too. My intuition. Not in a dramatic way, but in a very quiet, reliable way. Meditation, listening, tending to my needs. It rebuilt the relationship between me, myself, and I. My boundaries became clear, not perfect, but visible. Solitude showed me where I still shrink, where I still abandon myself, where I still overextend. And my discernment sharpened. Because when your solitude feels better than certain company, your standards change. You stop negotiating with misalignment. You stop justifying energy leaks. And here's something people don't talk about enough. Solitude doesn't make you less relational. It actually makes you more available and intentional. Because when you have met yourself, you are no longer using people to complete you. You can actually meet them. And because of that, I now connect faster with other people. It's much deeper, it's cleaner, because I'm not hunting for myself in the room. I already know where I live and where I stand when I walk into any room. And that happens when I sit alone without distraction, because that's when I meet myself in peace. It's not always in comfort, but at least it's in the truth. And mindful self-observation in real life looks like this. When something doesn't feel good, I pause. I check in. I listen to the sensation before I build a story. I ask myself, is this mine to hold? Is this mine to speak? Is this mine? Period. Emotional regulation without an external mirror is an intimacy. And I start with going back to my breath, to my body, to the present. I treat myself the way I would someone I love. What would make you feel better right now? Those would be the questions I'd ask myself. What do you need? Sometimes that looks like walking alone, eating alone, traveling alone, sitting in silence, journaling, just letting the body speak. Since I've prioritized rest and presence, ideas move through me differently, freely, unexpectedly, like a current instead of a push. And problem solving changes too, because I get clarity faster. My choices are far more clear and more intentional. And the relationships a woman chooses when she's no longer afraid of being alone are very different too. She doesn't choose from safety. She doesn't choose for distraction. And she doesn't choose to be filled. She chooses resonance, mutuality, presence. She chooses people who add to her peace, not replace it. She chooses connection, not consumption. So if you're still here with me, I'd love for you to ask yourself gently, where am I avoiding being alone? What story was I told about my timeline? What fear rises when I imagine choosing solitude? What part of me might be waiting there? And who might I become if I stopped treating loneliness like a flaw? I believe loneliness is a blessing in disguise. It's a season. It's a teacher. It's an opportunity for you to come back to yourself. Yes, we are social beings, and we are meant to love. We are meant to connect, to partner, to build, but we are not meant to outsource ourselves. Solitude prepares us for real intimacy, for friendships that are conscious, for love that isn't medicine for wounds. It prepares us to meet others without leaving ourselves. The lie I retired a long time ago is this: that a woman has an expiration date, that her worth is measured by marital status, that love only happens early. A woman can marry at 18 or at 60 or never. Freedom is choice, and we are all given it. And the truth I offer instead is this: stay open. Live your life your way. Stop using the world to determine how you feel about yourself. We all have different paths, different seasons, different initiations. Loneliness is not absence. It is initiation. It is invitation. And it may be the place you finally come home. This is Rise and Rebel Radio. Thank you for being here. I wish you the best because you deserve the best. Until next time. If something in this episode landed, stayed with you, or stirred something honest inside, please let me know. You can find me at www.risewithaya.com. That's where everything lives: the podcast, my writings, and ways to connect. So I'd love for you to follow me on social media and tell me what you want more of. That can be topics, questions, or conversations you're craving. Rise+rebel isn't just a podcast. It's a community built around truth, presence, and becoming your authentic self. So until then, don't rush your journey. Honor every moment of it.